Vivo V7 Plus presents the News Hour at 9, driven by Hyundai, co-powered by Siska, light years ahead.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We've got you a big breaking story, and this is really the root of the appeasement politics that has been followed in India for decades and decades. In fact, the question we are asking tonight, and that's the hashtag, ladies and gentlemen, it's the hashtag Haj Subsidy Crackdown. The government finally moving towards a system of phasing out Haj subsidies that run into nearly 450 crore. It's a Times Now exclusive that's coming up for you. In fact, we are bringing to you the details of the entire report. A major rethink of the Haj subsidy is underway. Times Now has accessed the report, and this report, ladies and gentlemen, in my hand has been submitted by a panel headed by a retired IAS officer, Afzal Amanullah. As per the report, the major reforms have been proposed in Hajj policy with the intention to massively cut the huge subsidy bill, which currently stands at nearly 500 crores. With the Supreme Court deadline of 2022 to completely end subsidy nearing that date, because this is not just the government, this is a Supreme Court stated deadline, and the government has now embarked on a gradual reduction of the Haj subsidy pegged at nearly 400 crores for 2017 and progressively approach zero by 2022. Let me show you the numbers. These numbers as the government plans to bring it down. For 2017, it's a 380 crore subsidy that the government wants to bring it down to from the present 500 crore rupees. In 2018, 305 crores, 2019, 230 crores, and down to 155, 80 crores and zero by 2022. That's the plan. And look at the number of centers that the Hajj pilgrimages really take off from. This is Guwahati, Gaya, Ranchi, Srinagar, Mangalore, Indore, Bhopal, Varanasi, Aurangabad, Chennai, Lucknow, Jaipur, all these states, 21 destinations. These destinations are now going to be brought down to just 9 to control the Hajj subsidy bill that has been ballooning. In fact, the average rate that is required for a Hajj subsidy has been going up consistently. It's about 54,000 rupees that every Hajj subsidy really accounts for per head, and with 1.25 lakh pilgrims going every year, this totals to about 500 crores every year. Joining me this evening, Madhav Das Gopalakrishnan, our senior editor, who's broken this story and accessed this entire report. Madhav, take our viewers through what are the recommendations that have been put out by this panel, which has members from the minority communities, including people like Kamal Farooqi, who've been in politics before and now are a Muslim scholar. In fact, Kamal Farooqi, Kaisar Shamim, S.S. Parkar, Afzal Amanullah and J. Alam, the Joint Secretary of the Ministry of Minority Affairs, submitting these recommendations to the government just last month.
Well, absolutely, Navika. Even though it's this government that's putting it in place, we can say with all certainty that this is a reform coming in from within the community itself, not just the Supreme Court Justice who actually gave this order, but also the entire panel that was put in place earlier this year to look at this very contentious issue. Now, right from this year, the proposal is to increase the fees to 50,000 per head, an increase of 5,000 from last year's 45,000. So really the subsidy burden on the government would come down to that extent. Also significantly, as you rightly mentioned, 9 ports of embarkation. These are Delhi, Lucknow, Kolkata, Ahmedabad, Mumbai, Chennai, Hyderabad, Bengaluru and Cochin. These are the only proposed ports of embarkation where in fact the Hajj would actually take off from, and that's where, you know, the kind of costs, the kind of expenses that governments do occur would in fact come down drastically as far as this is concerned. Also, of course, in terms of the actual Hajj house facilities, in terms of the various other states and UTs where in fact this takes place, all of that would be discontinued. It it is also going to be looked at very closely in terms of using empty commercial flights, because currently it is flights that drop pilgrims over there and come back empty. So using all those empty commercial opportunities as well to try and reduce the cost burden, all of these are part of this. In fact, there is also a proposal to use ships perhaps with more than 4,000 capacity, which could be there. But perhaps one of the most important aspects of this, Navika, is that women above the age of 45 required a male escort, a close family relative. But really, of course, now with this new policy in place, it proposes that the government will not in fact put any such conditions on women above the age of 45 who want to travel. They can travel in a group of 4. They do not necessarily have to have any male family member as an escort, as was earlier required. So it is wide-ranging. The government hopes that this particular report will be submitted in Supreme Court, and with the Supreme Court's approval will be able to put this in place so that by the year 2022, as has been already decided, there will be absolutely no subsidy on Hajj. In fact, what the government proposes is that all of this amount, which runs into hundreds if not thousands of crores, will be put into various sectors such as education, which will help in fact the Muslim community in various other such developmental schemes and activities. So all of that remains to be seen in terms of how this money that is now being saved will be really used in terms of development. Of course, it's a contentious issue. There are certain voices of discontent that are already brewing, saying that these are aspects which they believe at least do curtail on their religious freedom. But ultimately, the government has to say that it's only following what the Apex Court has already ordered during a previous regime in 2012, and it's this government that has shown the will to actually implement this and bring in new reform measures which will in fact benefit the society at large.
Well, Madhav Das Gopalakrishnan bringing us that exclusive report. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time on any news channel, this is the report. This is the report, the Hajj Policy Review Committee report of September 2017, which has been submitted to the Ministry of Minority Affairs, and it has these members. In fact, one of the members with us here, Afzal Amanullah, SS Parkar, Kaisar Shamim, IRS retired former chairman of the Hajj Committee of India, Kamal Farooqi, Michael Mascarenhas, who opted out, and of course the Joint Secretary. So all of these members submitting this based on the Supreme Court verdict of 2012. Why did the Congress party not think of implementing this despite the Supreme Court order between 2012 and 2014? That's the big debate coming up. And let me open this up. Joining me this evening, Gaurav Bhatia, spokesperson of the BJP. Rahul Ishwar, right-wing activist, joining me live from Trivandrum. Firoz Meeti Borwala, member of the Indian Muslims for the Secular Democracy. Kaisar Shamim, former chairman of the Hajj Committee, with me in our studios in Noida. Dr. Fuad Halim, spokesperson of the CPIM. Atikur Rahman, Islamic scholar. Ilyas Shafruddin, Islamic scholar as well. And my first question goes out to Kaisar Shamim, former chairman of the Hajj Committee, who was also a member of this commission. Mr. Shamim, you're at least you are among those Muslims who are convinced that this subsidy should be ended. The center does not subsidize any other pilgrim of any other religion. From the center, yes, some states do, but the center does not subsidize either Hindus or Sikhs or Christians or Parsis. Why should only the Muslims get subsidies?
I feel that there is lack of proper understanding. A lot of figures that have been quoted are not correct. You may be quoting from the report, of which I am one of the authors, but the figures do not depict the correct picture that you have reported.
But you've signed on this?
I have signed, and I'll be speaking from the same report which you have in your hand. For instance, you said that in 2017, the amount of Hajj subsidy was 380 crores.
Would be.
2017, Hajj has happened.
Okay.
But the actual amount of Hajj subsidy given was only 200 crores. So the budgeted amount was 380 crores. The amount given actually was only 200 crores. It is wrong to say that 380 crores was given.
But you've written this figure, and may I show you? This is the signature of Kaisar Shamim, member of this commission. And if my camera person can just focus on this signature, Kaisar Shamim, member, this is your signature, and you are contesting the figures that I read out here.
Absolutely.
The figure of 380 crores in 2017. On that report.
You read the heading. The heading says total subsidy rupees in crores to be reflected in the budget of MOCA.
No, Navika, can
Ministry of Civil Aviation. No, please don't interrupt. Please don't interrupt. If she has asked me a question, let me answer it. The amount given is 200 crores. You can check it up. And if you are wrong, please.
So where is the rest 180 crores coming from?
It was not sanctioned. It was only 200 crores was sanctioned. Just before coming for this meeting, I had checked up with the Joint Secretary concerned. Now, it is being said that crores, as if thousands of crores were splurged on this. It is not so. The maximum amount given was in 2012, 836 crores. Please refer to the report. It has been coming down to 200 crores in 2017. And I have reasons to
look
believe,
at the numbers, ladies and gentlemen, look at these numbers. 2012, 837 crores, 2013, 683 crores, 2014, 577 crores, 2015, 529 crores. So there is a
progressive decline. Now, you have to go behind the situation, what had really happened. Everything happened not because any government did anything.
It's the Supreme Court order.
The Supreme Court order.
Okay, so why are some people seeing a communal design in this?
Not at all. What is the communal design? There was a Congress government earlier, there's a UPA government, now there's an NDA government. The governments have done their job. You will see that the Honorable Supreme Court in their order dated 8th May 2012, they upheld the constitutional validity of Haj subsidy. Please mark my words. They upheld the constitutional validity of Haj subsidy. One. But the court also felt in its wisdom that the amount of subsidy should be progressively reduced to eliminate it within a period of 10 years. It could be done till 2022. 6 years have elapsed. And believe me, from next year onwards, I have reasons to believe that the subsidy would be zero. So everything is going in accordance with the direction.
All right, Gaurav Bhatia wanted to come in. Yes, Mr. Gaurav Bhatia. Mr. Gaurav Bhatia, you know, people have objected to this entire issue on the grounds that this is a government that believes in the majority community. It believes in Hindutva politics, which is why it is reducing the subsidy. How do you respond to that charge?
Yeah, Navika, first of all, I would like to begin by quoting the paragraph of the Supreme Court judgment in Union of India versus Rafiq Sheikh Bhikan. And para 41 says, we therefore direct the central government to progressively reduce the amount of subsidy so as to completely eliminate it within a period of 10 years from today. The subsidy money may be more profitably used for upliftment of the community in education and other indices of social development. So this is what the Honorable Supreme Court says, and I think it is binding on every institution as well as citizens. Second, I think, you know, it is not about 200 crores or 300 crores as the esteemed panelists were saying. It is about the principle on which you give the Haj subsidy. We are a country governed by rule of law. There is Article 14 which says there would be equality before law for every citizen. Then there is Article 15 that says that nobody would be discriminated on the basis of his religion, caste, creed. And you correctly said that the central government has not given a similar subsidy to people who are professing another religion. Now, so there are two questions. If the principle itself does not allow, the constitution doesn't allow, then how can you discriminate between people who are professing different religions? And second, I think most importantly, there is no intelligible differentia to actually say that within Article 14 we can have a separate category and then allow this subsidy. On a larger point, I would say it is also because the UPA government and Congress government has believed in the policies of appeasement, and that is not healthy for any country. We know even during triple talaq, which was in relation to Muslim women, how the UPA government never took a stand. It was only when the BJP government came,
Ram Mandir
बनाएंगे that it is an issue.
If you make the Ram Mandir, it's an article of faith. If you make a statue which is 20 meters high of Ram, it's an article of faith. But if Haj subsidy is given, it is appeasement. Are you applying different yardsticks, Mr. Gaurav Bhatia?
Again, your facts are not right, because no, let me tell you that if this judgment as it stands today, then we have to abide by the judgment and comply with it. So the Supreme Court judgment is there. Nothing was done by the UPA.
So the Supreme Court has done what political parties couldn't do.
We as a responsible government are only going... I'm sorry?
Okay. I said Supreme Court does what governments don't do.
No, do you think in a progressive country like ours, there is still space for, you know, in the Hajj policy itself of the UPA, there is a clause that says that a lady has to be accompanied by a male member from her own blood. Now in 21st century, do you think such policies should not be altered? I think the right to equality...
Okay, let's take that question to Ilyas Shafruddin. Mr. Ilyas Shafruddin.
Pure appeasement politics.
Mr. Ilyas Shafruddin, do you think it's the right direction that the government is moving in, given the fact that there is a Supreme Court verdict of 2012? Of course, the Congress party has used it every time to try and push through its own brand of appeasement politics. But do you think what the NDA government is doing is the right thing?
See, the worst ironical situation for our country now is the government have thousands of crores for statues, right from Gujarat till Uttar Pradesh, China-made statues. The government giving hundreds and thousands of acres of land for ashrams at throwaway prices. Unfortunately, the government don't have few hundred rupees for the Haj subsidies, or don't have few hundred rupees for the oxygen for the children in hospitals. This is the ironical situation of our government nowadays. My request to the government that really implement the law in proper order. Don't go for appeasement.
Is there any other community that gets a subsidy?
Don't go for appeasement. Don't go for appeasement.
Do you have faith in the Supreme Court of India?
Spend
Do you have
wisely
faith
for
in the judgment that they have delivered?
Spend wisely
Please,
for the Muslims.
Don't talk
Muslims
about any other incidents. I would still say,
let me say, I
without getting into details of any other
have some manners.
Will never make a right. But I ask you a very pointed question,
the government is spending on ashrams, on statues and everything. Unfortunately, the same government not spending on subsidies. This is the problem with the government.
It shows that the earlier government preferred one community over the other. So it is illegal.
Hypocrisy.
Constitution.
Don't do that.
And second,
don't do that.
What about the Supreme Court of India?
Establish
you have faith in the judgment
equally
of the
to every
Supreme
community.
And even if you disagree, sir, it is binding on you equally.
You are having one view for the Muslims, another view for the ashrams. Asaram, Gurmeet Rams are having ashrams. They are enjoying. Asarams and Gurmeet Rams are having ashrams of thousands of acres.
There are many
they are enjoying over there. That is okay.
In the committee that has suggested that we should do away with the subsidy. Are you saying those eminent Muslims who have recommended doing away with the subsidy don't know about the constitution, they don't have any love for your community?
Mr. Ilyas Shafruddin, why do people go on pilgrimages? People go on pilgrimages so that उन्हें जन्नत बख्शी जाए. जन्नत तो तब बख्शी जाएगी जब आप अपने जेब से जाएंगे. आप किसी और के खर्चे पर जाएंगे तो जन्नत कैसी बख्शी जाएगी?
I'll say what is truth. No one can stop me from saying truth. मैडम जन्नत जब पैसा हमको मिलेगा, आप लोग हजारों करोड़ में टैक्स ले रहे हैं और पैसा वापस नहीं कर रहे हैं.
I would like to
करिए. हजारों करोड़ में मुसलमान टैक्स दे.
Okay, let me get in all the panelists and then I'll come back to you.
आप मूर्तियों पे खर्चा मत करिए, उससे कोई फायदा होने वाला नहीं है. आप जो हजारों मूर्तियों पे खर्चा कर रही चाइना के, उस पे मत करिए. चाइनीज मेड मूर्तियों के लिए हजारों करोड़ है, गलत है ये।
Atikur Rahman, the simple question is, it's a Supreme Court judgment of 2012. They've asked for phasing out of the subsidy. And why? Why should subsidy be given to Muslims when it is not given to any other religion? In fact, I can read out this answer that was given in July of 2017 in the Lok Sabha itself by the Ministry of External Affairs, who said the government of India does not provide subsidy to perform pilgrimage to other pilgrim sites or religious shrines located in foreign countries on the lines similar to the Hajj pilgrimage. Yes, the government facilitates visa for Pakistan for Nankana Sahib and Kailash Mansarovar in Tibet Autonomous Region with the People's Republic of China. It does the coordinate for visas, but it doesn't give any subsidies. So why should subsidies be given by the center to only one community, that is the Muslim community?
Can I answer?
Well, Navika ji, I completely agree with your point and with the point of Mr. Bhatia. I am all for equality before law, and if the Supreme Court guidelines are being followed by all the governments, as the other panelists said, that from the UPA to the NDA right now, subsequently it has been reduced. So I have no qualms at all. But the only thing is, the BJP spokesperson should ensure today that equality before law will be continued, and henceforth it will not be.
What are you saying? What are you saying? Atikur Rahman, what are you saying? Equality before law is guaranteed in our constitution, and that depends on the courts. Are you saying the courts do not provide equality before law to people of India? But it will be. Why are you questioning it?
Navika,
why are you questioning? Just because we come to the question, just because we come to the question of the Haj subsidy, you begin to question the courts on the equality before law?
No, no. In fact, I don't believe.
No,
Navika ji,
I want to ask
complete?
Mr. Rahmani.
I don't believe that the Hajj subsidy is a subsidy by the state exchequer.
Are you
the
supporting,
subsidy should be removed
the elimination of Hajj
when
subsidy?
The pilgrims will go
why can't you
to Hajj,
unequivocally
I am
support
very much
it?
confirmed
Why
the airlines will be given. It's not the question of ifs and buts, sir. Subsidies, I am not in favor. It has been established by facts and figures that whatever discount the Hajj committee gets is the discount from the airlines they hire. I am questioning that
Mr. Rahul,
you ensure that equality before law will be established.
That is guaranteed under the constitution. Rahul Ishwar, I just don't get the argument of Atikur Rahman, who says that henceforth you should...
Let me tell you, triple talaq also was a question of equality before law.
Just two quick points.
Don't triple talaq
and the other where the policy is being now altered is of Mehram, which I have already pointed out. Why would you not allow?
See, this is a very sensitive subject.
One at a time, gentlemen. One at a time, gentlemen.
I'm asking you, sir.
One at a time, gentlemen.
See, for God's sake.
Okay.
Sir, just two quick
points. Ilyas bhai, Atikur Rahman, calm down. Listen to the answer given by Rahul Ishwar. Rahul Ishwar is speaking. Yes, Rahul Ishwar.
Sir, two quick points. It's a very touchy issue, very complicated issue. Let me articulate a much more nuanced position, which senior people like Chandan Mitra has articulated. See, our land is a land of diversity. For example, in Andhra Pradesh, Government Order number 29 in 2008, they have also started giving subsidies for our Christian pilgrimage to go to Jerusalem. See, in our history, in our long history, we have always assisted people who would like to go outside. It was a kind of confidence building measure. But Supreme Court, in one particular order said it should progressively abolish the subsidy. See, it's a very touchy issue. We definitely respect those pilgrims who go in the path of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But you know, when Supreme Court says we have to obey what they say, it's a much more nuanced debate. I hope this topic is not a polarizing topic, and that particular money which they were using for Hajj can equally be used for the betterment in education and social fields. There are many diversities of opinion. Chandan Mitra ji, who is a very senior columnist, who is a very, very great intellectual, has one articulated a position that he said, you know, subsidy can be given to every community. That's another possibility. You can either say subsidy shouldn't be given to any community, or you can say that subsidy should be given to every community. That's also again secular and plural. So India will have to debate which is the position that they should take. I hope this shouldn't be a matter of rhetoric, because this is a very touchy issue concerning religion and spirituality. I hope we will see this topic with much nuance, and I agree more with Chandan Mitra ji when he once articulated that subsidy can be given in a proper manner, in a very moderate manner to every community, so that state can assist their spiritual endeavor too, and that will be a confidence building measure.
I'd like to comment in Narika.
Well, let me get in Firoz Mithi Borwala. Firoz Mithi Borwala. Yes, I'll come back to you, Gaurav Bhatia, but let me get in Firoz Mithi Borwala.
Firstly, it is a misnomer that this is some kind of appeasement for Muslims. This is a little pittance of an amount, 200 crores, 300 crores. It never went into the pockets of any of the Muslim pilgrims. It went into the Air India coffers. In fact, if the mathematics is worked out, this is a major scam.
Because people flew Air India.
This is
it
a major
wasn't given as a dole to Air India.
Listen.
People who were flying Air India.
Narika,
I'm sorry. The Air India flights went from a special terminal which was called the Hajj terminal to Makkah, Medina. They came back empty, and you're saying it was a dole that was given to Air India?
Please hear me out. This is a major scam. This is a major scam. We don't want the subsidy. Time and time again in the parliament, there have been Muslim parliamentarians, including someone like Shabuddin, who said, please cancel the subsidy. I am talking of the 1990s. If you go to the Hajj committee, you are paying 1,25,000 and then another 25,000 given by the government. If you work out the mathematics, ministers, bureaucrats have eaten the money. If you go through a private tour operator, you get better facilities by paying only 1 lakh rupees. So this is a scam.
So why do 1,25,000?
Please.
Why do 1.25 lakh people use this? Why is the government paying 500 crore even till today on these?
Open it up to the private airlines. You don't need to fly only Air India. There are various airlines today flying in India and across the world.
No, why take subsidy at all? You are talking about not giving it to Air India. Why take subsidy at all?
Cancel
Why don't you just give up the subsidy?
Cancel the subsidy totally.
Yeah, then fly anything. Who cares?
Please.
There is no need for the
then you
subsidy
can fly anything.
Navika, let me
what I'm very clear, and another thing that we require, Narika, is from the center to the state. Let's have a CAG. One is on the scam of the entire Hajj subsidy, number one. Number two, on all the subsidies that are going to various religious activities in this country. As a secular state, the state has no business, be it the center or the state. Let's have a white paper on the appeasement for various communities in this country.
That I completely endorse. Dr. Fuad Halim, do you think successive governments, have kept on with this Hajj subsidy despite the state promising in the constitution that the state will not have anything to do with any single religion? Why have government after government, political party after political party continued with the Hajj subsidies? Do you think it required just the Supreme Court, or is it just appeasement politics that suited every political party at the center?
Well, Namika, let me inform you that I was a member of the Hajj Committee of India when this judgment was delivered, and it was our committee that actually made submissions to the Supreme Court to conclude such a decision and other landmark decisions that came during our tenure. I will just read out two parts of the judgment which I think so underlines what is the attitude of the Supreme Court. Political parties and governments have their attitude, but the Supreme Court attitude one has to understand. I read for you Justice Aftab Alam's judgment on the 8th of 8th of May 2012. We also take note of the fact that the grant of subsidy has been found to be constitutionally valid by this court. we are also not oblivious of the fact that in many other purely religious events, there are direct and indirect deployment of state funds and state resources. Nevertheless, we are of the view that the Hajj subsidy is something that is best done away with. He underlines very clearly the subsidy money may be more profitably used for upliftment of the community in education and other indices of social development. Now, the attitude of the Supreme Court is very clear that in internal migrations, whether of any community or external migrations, by internal migrations, the Supreme Court deliberated at that point of time. You've got the Kumbh Mela and you've got the Muslim festival of Urs in Ajmer, where massive populations move from one place to another place, where you have to have state deployment, otherwise you cannot handle such large what you call mass internal migrations. You also have got external migrations. You've got the Mansarovar Yatra. Yogi Adityanath announced a subsidy of 1 lakh the moment he came to power. You've got the Hajj movement, which is an international movement of the Muslim community. In this context, the Supreme Court is very clear that if you have to choose for spending money, then it is better to spend it on improving social indices. The government of the day, if it is reducing the Hajj subsidy, is it actually giving a concrete plan that it is redeploying that money for increasing the social indices? That is not happening. You know, just discussing the reduction of the Hajj subsidy is not the issue. When we were there on the committee, we were very clear that the Hajj subsidy has to be done away with. It will create some logistical problems, because you see there is no equalization of the airfare all over India. So everybody will internally migrate to Mumbai, from where the air flight fares will be cheapest. So you will have an internal migration during the Hajj period of 1,25,000 people going to Mumbai. And what the present committee has recommended, reducing the 12 what you call embarkation points to 9, we are going to have a serious what you call problem in those 9 what you call stations where embarkation will take place.
Okay, so you say subsidy, is to go, but you begin to find fault with the commission and the report and the recommendations. Well, Mr. Kaisar Shamim, you've gone through all the details and recommended these changes.
In 1994,
yes.
the total pilgrimage population was 25,000. Today it's increased to 1,70,000. Let's be very clear. 25,000 in 1994 to 1,70,000, and if you are going to corral them into 9 embarkation points, there is going to be problems. But that is a side discussion. What I want to say is that no government since the reduction of the subsidy has actually come out clearly and said what they are doing with the money that they are reducing in the subsidy. I think so this government has to come across and say they have reduced the subsidy, they have what you call slashed it, but what have they done with that money? The Supreme Court sentiment is very clear. You have to redeploy those funds, because
Can I respond now?
So Gaurav Bhatia, yes, Gaurav Bhatia, the Supreme Court judgment by Justice Alam.
Points that I want to make.
The Supreme Court, 1 minute, Gaurav Bhatia, the Supreme Court judgment by Justice Alam actually said the subsidy money may be more profitably used for the upliftment of the community in education and other indices of social development. The very valid question that's coming across is, yes, you are reducing this because of the Supreme Court judgment.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's a secular decision, but how do you plan to redeploy this money?
Yes. Absolutely. Navika, let me answer that. And I think Fuadji has made a very valid point. Let me tell him that, you know, when 2014 Narendra Modi ji became the Prime Minister of the country, the budget of Minority Affairs Ministry itself was increased. It was 2013-14, it was 3,111 crores. In 14-15, it was 3,530 crores, which was increased to 3,734 crores in the first year when the BJP government came. And there have been schemes by the central government like giving vocational training. Can I just complete my point, Fuadji? I did not interrupt you. If you just want to have a shouting match, it's okay. But I think you are not for a meaningful debate. When somebody gives you numbers, when somebody tries to give you reasoning, you start interrupting. And if you feel this is the way to debate, then I strongly protest against this.
You don't want to talk
Please listen to me now.
Estimates.
Let me make my point, and then you will have your chance to interrupt me.
No, you cannot get away with this.
Let me first
you are misleading the nation.
Let me first complete my point.
You are
Whatever
putting
it is,
statistics
in a
which are
democracy,
misleading. You are talking about budget. Talk about the revised estimate. Say that I said 100 rupees I spent and you spend up 30 rupees. You don't want to tell the nation that you actually spend 30 rupees and you want to say I am willing to spend 100 rupees.
Can I just make my point, Mr.
No, Gaurav, come to the revised estimate. The central government revised estimates on the minority budget has been dismal. You will not even be able to spend 30% of your budget estimates on the minority budget. No, where is your point, Gaurav?
I don't know where you get these numbers from. Let me tell you where we are providing vocational training to the people of minority communities so that they can become independent and earn their livelihood.
Look,
100 crores
the budget estimate के बगल ही में revised estimate होता है, Gaurav साहब.
To modernize madrasas.
The paper that you have on the left hand side is the budget estimate, on the right hand side is the revised estimate. You look at the paper, you get the revised estimate.
All these initiatives have been taken by the governments, center as well as the UP government, to ensure that the minority committee is uplifted and they become part of the mainstream. It is not only about Haj subsidy, it is about discrimination that happens on the basis of religion, and in the Muslim religion itself, you people don't allow the other gender to progress. I am talking about all the things that are prevalent, like halala, polygamy, and also triple talaq. It was this government that took a strong stand to ensure gender equality to them.
Think about Devdasis.
If you are planning to reduce subsidies, are you going to reduce subsidies of all religious festivals?
Providing education to the minority.
Okay, gentlemen, this is.
Will you adopt this policy of reducing?
Gentlemen, this is not about nikah halala. This is not about other issues. We are talking about a plain, simple issue of principle. The issue of principle is, if no other religion is subsidized for their pilgrimage, why should just one religion, the Muslim community, the Islam religion, get? I'm getting a reaction coming in from the Minister of Minority Affairs. Just a minute, Mr. Naqvi has spoken. Let's listen into that comment.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने ऑलरेडी इस पे ऑर्डर दिए थे 2012 में. क्या आप कॉन्फिडेंट है कि 2022 तक का जो डेडलाइन था कि सब्सिडी को पूरी तरह से हटाया जाए, उसको इम्प्लीमेंट कर पाएंगे आप?
हाँ, बिल्कुल करना पड़ेगा. ये क्योंकि 2012 में जजमेंट जो था वो कांग्रेस पार्टी की सरकार थी, हमारी नहीं थी. और 2018 में जो नए हज होगा वो नए हज पॉलिसी के तहत ही होगा.
और जो पैसा भी सरकार इसमें जो सब्सिडी के जो पैसा जाता था उसको दूसरे डेवलपमेंट स्कीम्स में लगाने की
हमारी कोशिश है कि जो माइनॉरिटीज का एजुकेशनल एम्पावरमेंट है उसमें उस सब्सिडी में जो पैसे जाते थे उसका इस्तेमाल किया जा सके.
इलियास शफरुद्दीन, मिनिस्टर ने बहुत बढ़िया बात कही है. उन्होंने कहा है that this money should be used for educational empowerment of the Muslim community. You don't have any objection with that. Why should the money go for Haj subsidy? Why should it not be given to young children for education?
See, Muslims are ready that their children should get educated in a very strong and very efficient manner. But Naqvi Sahib should learn the Islam from Quran Hadith, not from RSS headquarters. He should know the difference between Hajj and education. Both are having its own importance. Unfortunately, Naqvi don't know about Hajj, importance of Hajj. Because of that, he is saying such things. Enough money should be spent on Hajj and enough money should be spent on education. Muslims are paying.
So why should people who want to undertake the pilgrim
be spent on Muslims on both the parts?
Why should people, Mr. Shamim Kaisar, why should people who want to undertake the pilgrimage not spend from their own pockets? What does it have to do with RSS? What does it have to do with Islam? If you want to go on a pilgrimage, spend from your own pocket.
Let me educate him about what the Holy Quran says.
I think let us talk about sanity. Let us not talk about the Quran. You don't know anything about it.
The Holy Quran
let me leave it to me.
Navika, can I just quote from the Holy Quran?
Many Devdasis are sleeping with Pandits.
Holy Quran says.
No, please don't take that.
What are you saying?
What are you talking?
If you can afford Hajj.
What are you saying, sir?
Yes.
Sir, why are you saying blasphemous things? Why are you saying blasphemous things, Mr. Ilyas? Do you want to politicize this? Rahul Ishwar is objecting to your statement.
That's it.
Navika ji, just one humble
Navika, holy
let us see the history and context of Haj subsidy. That's the reason why even in High Court verdict, even in Supreme Court verdict, Supreme Court once pointed out that this goodwill measure of sending people to Saudi Arabia, we understand the intention, but it has been jumbo-sized. See, there is a history context to Haj subsidy. It was meant as a goodwill measure at one point of time, but Supreme Court came up with an alternate view.
Go and learn
I
Vedas
think
first.
there is a lot of misunderstanding. There is a lot of misunderstanding.
Go and learn Vedas. Making statues against
even
Vedas.
quoted the Holy Quran. Supreme Court even quoted the Holy Quran.
Don't make statues. You are making statues by spending thousands of crores. You are going against Vedas. First learn Vedas, then come to
Okay.
Okay, gentlemen. Mr. Kaisar Shamim wants to make a point. He's been wanting to make a point for some time now.
Statues? Why? Going against Vedas?
I think I should also start shouting now.
Yes, Mr. Kaisar Shamim.
Excuse me, sir. Please let me speak.
They are making
You see,
idols.
I want to make a few points, please.
Why?
Janab, please let me speak. I'll be grateful. First of all, the learned spokesperson of BJP, he says that Haj subsidy was not constitutionally valid because in our constitution, every religion has to be treated equally.
No,
but the very judgment of 8th May 2012, no, you started, that is when I interrupted.
Please.
Yes, paragraph 41. Paragraph 41 of the Supreme Court judgment, there on your screens. There on your screens, the pack.
That's what not letting me speak.
That's what paragraph 41 of the Supreme Court judgment is there on your screen.
Let me complete what I have to say. No, I'm not putting words. When you commenced, when the debate started, at that point in time, you said that all religions have to be treated equally under the Constitution of India, and that this was an appeasement.
Yes.
I strongly object to this charge. There is no question of any appeasement.
Then why has it continued Why has it continued for so many years?
Let me speak. I will tell you why. Give me a chance, Mr. Bhatia. Let me speak.
Did nothing to
I'm not interested in UPA or India government. I am going to give you the facts.
Why did the
Yes, I'll answer everything.
Provide reservation to the Muslim community? Why did the UPA?
Oh my God, you are expanding the issue. We are discussing Haj subsidy here. We are discussing Haj subsidy. I only want to say that the Honorable Supreme Court upheld the constitutional validity of Haj subsidy. Number one. Number two, the Muslim community by and large does not want Haj subsidy. It is fallacious to say that the Muslim community wants doles from the government. It is equally fallacious to say that none of the governments are supporting financially other yatras. I don't want to get into it.
Then they should be.
It's a matter of fact.
I'm not talking about
It's a matter of fact. It's been stated in the parliament.
What about the state government?
State government, but the center is not.
Also comes from the state exchequer. That is the taxpayers' money. You can't differentiate. So the thing is that I'm not getting into the best of that. But it is wrong to say,
subsidies
to the best of my knowledge
Kailash Mansarovar, Chhattisgarh, Delhi, Gujarat, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh and Uttarakhand. Yes, some states do give subsidies for Kailash Mansarovar, but the center does not.
How does it matter?
But this Haj subsidy goes from the center.
So what?
It becomes.
Where do the states get the money from? They get from the taxpayers' money, the exchequer, which is the same thing. What is the difference between central exchequer and state exchequer?
Okay, Gaurav Bhatia is opposing you.
You are absolutely wrong. This court, Honorable Supreme Court, has upheld the constitutional validity.
Navikaji, there can be a counter approach to this.
No.
Now let me.
Navikaji, one quick point.
The member who's written the report himself is not positive about it.
I'm very positive. Muslims don't want subsidy. Please understand.
But you are looking at Ilyas Shafruddin.
No, I'm talking about my viewpoint.
You are looking at Ilyas Shafruddin. He is opposing the withdrawal.
Narvika. I'd like to make one important point out here.
Can I please
the problem is also with the Times Now channel, with the kind of extremist Muslims like Sharafuddin, whom you keep on giving space to, and the other Wahhabi fanatics, they all insist on calling to your channel to make a mess of things. Call sensual Muslims, you'll have a sensual discussion. You call nutcases like Sharafuddin, you'll have nutcase discussions taking place on your screen. Kaisar Shamim is saying something very important. Muslims never wanted this subsidy. There were historical context. And now get rid of the subsidy. As simple as that. And be it the state or the centre, it makes no difference. Subsidies are being given for religious agendas in this country. Be it the state or the centre. Tomorrow will you tell the Maharashtra state government, fund the Hajj? What are you talking about, centre or state? The point is, let there be a white paper on this entire issue.
Let me also agree with Mr. Gaurav Bhatia. Let me agree with Mr. Gaurav Bhatia by saying that Islam does not mandate Hajj for everybody. It is very important. Please let me speak. It is very important to know that Islam and the Quran do not mandate Hajj for people who cannot afford it. So it is not that everybody is required to go for Hajj. Number two, the Muslim community by and large does not want Hajj subsidy.
Well, if you take it I'm saying on the show, Shafruddin himself says, yes, Gaurav Bhatia, there is obviously a split within the Muslim community. There are progressive Muslims who want the Hajj subsidy to go, but there are people like Ilyas Shafruddin who want it to stay. And they are attaching motives. There is a split. It's there, right, evident in front of you.
Narvika, there is no split. Narvika, that's right. Narvika, there is no split. You keep on calling extremists, fanatics like Sharafuddin on your channel to create this problem. Sharafuddin is a 5 or 10 in each city. But you insist on fanatic.
Okay, Gaurav Bhatia making a point.
The other panelists.
Yes.
For speaking truth, if I am a fanatic, I am a fanatic. Okay, fine. Yes.
Please don't shout, sir. This is not a shouting match.
So it will be a very good thing if the government spends its money on education of Muslim communities. That will be great. Absolutely fine.
They say Holy Quran in verse 97 in Surah 3. In it are manifest signs. The maqam of Ibrahim, whoever enters it, he attains security, and Hajj, pilgrimage to Makkah, to the house, is duty that mankind owes to Allah. Those who cannot afford the expense, note this, those who cannot afford the expenses, and whoever disbelieves, then he is a disbeliever of Allah, then Allah stands not in need of any of the alameen. So therefore, if you cannot afford, then you are not supposed to take a subsidy and then go for Hajj.
That's right.
The Muslim community,
so there is no dispute.
One of the panelists
there is absolutely no dispute.
Against this subsidy, then where is the debate? Then let's end the debate. The BJP government is committed to provide education, to provide other facilities, healthcare to the minority community. But we do not think that it is advisable as a policy decision to spend the money of the people for
gentlemen,
no Muslim is asking for any subsidy.
Rahul Ishwar wanted to make a point.
Rahul Ishwar asking for the subsidy. Mind you,
Navika ji, just one humble submission. Just give me one line. Navika ji, just give me one line. Just give me one line. See, the people who went to court, their primary objection to Hajj subsidy was that it was being partial and selective cherry picking. See, we can have two approaches in this. We can either say no subsidy should be given to any community, or we can say some kind of subsidy and assistance can be given to every community. Some right-wing groups approach Supreme Court majorly on the premise that it was appeasement and it was only partial to one community. You can either say that every community, may it be to Jerusalem, may it be to Mecca, may it be to Kailash Mansarovar, or may it be to Tirupati or Sabarimala, or may it be to Buddhist shrines, there should be some kind of subsidy. I believe even some BJP governments, Andhra Pradesh government has been taking the right approach, that some kind of assistance, because government can be seen to even help them in their spiritual welfare.
The government has no business. The government has no business in supporting any single religion. That is the state. That is the status the government has taken in Parliament, that they do not give subsidies to any other religion except the Hajj subsidy that is given to Muslims. But look at the questions I'm getting from our viewers on involve.in. Question coming up: it's very painful to be a citizen of a country where one community gets subsidy for holy tours and other communities get nothing. That's coming from Vikash Mishra in Kolkata. Also, Shaswat Shitpav says Quran says you have to do pilgrimages with your own money. Then why do Muslims want Hajj subsidy? Also, another big question coming in from another viewer who says subsidy should have been abolished right away by the Supreme Court and it should not have waited for 10 years. Rajendra Sharma puts that question out. I leave that question with our viewers tonight. Should there be subsidy for any one single religion, or is the government doing away with appeasement politics, albeit on the grounds of what the Supreme Court recommended in 2012? Should the government have never interfered in the matters of religion? Why only support the Muslim community by giving them Hajj subsidy? That's really the question that you, the viewer, needs to think about. Thank you very much to all my panelists for joining me here on this debate. We'll take a short break. Anand Narsimhan up with the Newshour at 10 with the right to pray. Stay tuned. Don't go away.